Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Nurse Jar's very first podcast. Yes, it is a premiere podcast. And who do I have to thank? I'm going to give a huge shout out to Miss Deborah Williams. Yes, who actually gave me the idea to start a podcast. Now, I had a podcast, maybe 4 or 5 years ago on anchor.com, but it really wasn't doing too well. I'd get a hit here, a hit there. But when Deborah suggested this, and Deborah is a subscriber, so mwah, 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 thank you, Deborah. I was like, you know what? First of all, am I going to have time to do podcasts? And then I said to myself, well, yeah, right. I find time to do any and everything else. So, yes, I can fit a podcast into my schedule. And then I said to myself, is it really going to be worth it? Right? Is it really going to be worth it? Am I going to have followers on my podcast? Right? Um, and when I thought about it, it was like, well, how am I ever going to know if I don't start one, right? Or restart one. So here I am. Guys, this is an out of the box podcast for both student and instructor, okay? And hopefully, these first few podcasts that I have, you will gain so much from them, okay? It is a series on becoming inimitable. Now, if you don't know what inimitable is, you will soon learn, right? In this podcast, yes, in this podcast, my podcast is going to be full of energy and full of my personality. Y'all ain't even going to be able to stand it hardly, right? But it's okay. And hopefully, somewhere down the line, I can have some guest speakers for you as well. Okay, guys. So, first episode in this inimitable series is motivation. All right? Motivation. Now, y'all need to listen. Okay? Don't just hear what I'm saying and keep a walking. Y'all need to listen, okay, during these podcasts. So, motivation, where do I begin? Where do I begin? If I begin in my childhood, oh my goodness, this will be an extremely long podcast, right? So let me just start in the year 2003. This is the year that I received my nursing education, right? I graduated from nursing school through the military. And I knew, I knew as a green nurse, right, that I wanted to be the best at whatever I did, wherever I was, whatever nursing discipline that I was going to end up working in. I knew that I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be on top or at least close to the top, right? And I always wanted to be that someone, right? That someone who had the ability, had the know how, had um, the motivation, had the courage, right? And the means to be able to help other people, change their lives for the better. But as a new nurse, I needed guidance, right? I needed guidance. I needed empowerment. I needed someone, anyone, right, who could guide me through my journey to help me get to where I wanted to be, which was where? On top, right? On top. Okay. So whenever I was in, at the nurses station, whenever I was in meetings, whenever I was at the mall, whenever I was at the park, no matter where I was a sponge, right? I was a sponge. I was soaking in all the words, all the phrases that were dripping from the mouths of those folks who were around me, right? I asked questions, lots of questions, lots of why questions, right? I knew that in order for me to be on top or close to, right, that I needed to learn how others around me perceived the same things, right? Because we all perceive things differently. None of us perceive things the same until you learn of that other person's perception. And then you're like, "Oh, okay, now I see. Now I understand how you are perceiving this, right?" Okay? So we really don't know. And that's what I wanted to do, because when you are able to understand another person's perception of something, you learn, right? Your knowledge grows, okay? So I knew that in order to be on top or close to the top, that I had to be open minded and I had to listen. And even when I did not feel like listening, even when I did not want to listen, I listened, right? So you as a student, when you're sitting in your class, right, and is your instructor is giving lecture, and you're tired, you're bored, you're hungry, right? And your mind is elsewhere. Your mind is outside of that classroom. You don't want to listen to that lecture, right? Because you have other things on your mind. Boo, listen. Listen. All that other stuff, you got to keep it outside. Keep it outside the classroom until you go on break or you have a little downtime, right? But you have to listen. And on the flip side of the coin, instructors, you have to listen to your students. You have to listen. I was in a classroom one day. I was actually, an instructor had asked me to come in and sit in on her class while she gave a lecture, because she said she really wasn't able to get her students engaged, let alone, keep them engaged, let alone get them engaged. And so I just did like a 30-minute sit in, right, with her. I obliged her with that. And what I noticed was at the beginning of class, right, when the students were filing in, and this instructor was sitting at her desk trying to get together the lesson for the day, which is a no no, okay? And that should be done, at least a week in advance, right? And then you should have a backup lesson, okay, right? But I noticed that, a couple of her students came up to her and was talking to her, asking her questions. And this was what she did. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, okay. Well, just wait till class starts, and I'll go over that with everybody. How do you think she made that student feel? How do you think? Did that student feel like they were important at that moment? Did that student feel like they were receiving that instructor's attention, undivided attention at that moment? Did do you think that student thought that what she had to say was important, or was it important enough for her teacher to listen? No, she didn't, right? She felt like she was being brushed off by her teacher. And why? because that instructor had not gotten the lesson, whatever lesson she was going to be doing. She had not prepared for it. She wasn't prepared for it. And that's what she was doing once, the bell had rang and students were filing in. So she couldn't express to her student that, hey, what you are saying is important. I'm going to stop what I'm doing and I'm going to listen to you. Right? Okay. So, off topic, instructors, you have to be prepared for class before you get to class. Okay? Students, you have to be prepared for whatever lesson your instructor is going to be presenting. Okay? You have to be ready before you get to class. All right? Now, let me jump forward to the year 2019. Okay, so that was in 2003, graduated nursing school, right, through the military. And now in 2019, 16 years later, 16 years later, right, guess what? I was on top. Mm-hmm. I was on top. Yes, I made it. I made it after 16 years of nursing. I finally had reached the pinnacle in my career, or at least I thought I had reached that pinnacle, right? Because the pinnacle keeps going and going and going, right? Can you ever reach the top? No. But you can get very close to that top, right? You can keep going and keep going and keep going. Okay. I finally had reached the pinnacle of my career. At least I thought it was the pinnacle of my career, right? I had my YouTube channel. I think at that time in 2019, I probably had, I don't know, maybe 10,000, if that, right, subscribers, maybe, 7 to 10,000 subscribers. But at that time, when I thought I had reached the pinnacle, right, because I thought there was a top, um, I married it. I sure did. I married it and I vowed never to divorce it. And that was passion, right? When I reached the top of what I thought was the pinnacle, I fell in love. Like I truly, genuinely, sincerely fell in love. hmm And as with any marriage, as with any marriage, one must effortlessly maintain what you have built, what you have created, what you have designed and crafted, what you first fell in love with. And most importantly, you have to remember, never forget why you fell in love with it. Until you reach that pinnacle in your career, and again, even though pinnacle is the top, right? You can't just stop. You have to keep going. You have to keep building, right? Building more steps, making that pinnacle higher and higher and higher and higher in elevation, right? Because when you do that, you elevate yourself. And not only do you elevate yourself, but you elevate the people around you. You elevate the people in your circle. And then those folks can actually go out and start elevating the people in their circle. Hopefully, y'all are following me. Okay. There's a point. There's a point to my madness. Yes, there is a point. Okay. So you have to fall in love, meaning you have to have the passion, right? As an instructor, you have to have the passion to teach, to train, to instruct, to mentor. It has to be in here. Okay? Has to be in here. And the same for you as a student. You have to have a passion to become a nurse aide, to become a nurse practitioner, a PA, a physician, a surgeon. You have to have the passion. You can't just be in class because, that was something that your parents wanted you to do, or your friend was taking the course and you're like, oh, well, I want to be able to hang out with my friend most of the school day, right? So he or she's taking the nursing class, so I'm going to take it. It can't be that. You have to have passion, and you have to love that passion. Be in love with that passion. And remember, never ever forget why you fell in love. Okay? Why you fell in love with it. So until you reach that pinnacle, until you marry your passion, until you meet your passion, and it may be for the first time, second time, third time, but until you meet and marry your passion, you may experience many separations, many divorces, right, in your career or in your learning path, many pitfalls in your performance, right, as an instructor or as a student, as a leader, as a trainer, many disappointments in student productivity. Students, you may have many disappointments in your expectations of your instructor, what you feel your instructor should be or how they should be. Passion is the key variable to becoming inimitable, whether you're a student, whether you're the instructor. So, what is inimitable? Inimitable is someone who is impossible, okay? Impossible to duplicate. Second to none. Incomparable to the other many, okay? After making you, the mold was broken. Can't nobody imitate you. Nobody can mimic you. That's who you want to be. And you want to be able to inspire others to follow in your footsteps, right? So they can be inimitable. And we're all inimitable in our own way, right? My fellow instructors, your fellow classmates can all be inimitable, but you don't have to be inimitable in the same aspect, if that's making any sense to you all, right? Okay. So before you can reach that pinnacle, right? And I always like to think as the pinnacle as ongoing, like I told you before, but also my happiness, right? My happiness, not my content, right? Because you can be content. To me, that's just, you know, just settling, right? So I like to think of the pinnacle as my happiness, okay? My happiness, where I can grow, right? In all different directions. So before you reach your pinnacle, before you achieve impeccable results with your students as an instructor, you've got to marry your passion. You've got to, instructors and students. Before you can achieve your initial goal, which is passing the NATSAP, right? Your nurse aid training and competency evaluation program. That's your initial goal, right? Your long-term goal is to pass your state certification exam, the CEP, right? So as a student, you have two goals, right? An intermediate goal, passing your training class, and a long-term goal, which is passing your state certification exam. And then you're going to have more goals, right? Because now once you become certified, now it's time to go job hunting, right? But remember, it's not just a job. It's not just a job. As nurses, as CNAs, doctors, practitioners, PAs, educators, it's not just a job. It's your passion. It has to be your passion. You've got to marry it. And once you marry your passion, you should obligate yourself to maintaining a strong bound with it. A strong bound. Sometimes you may need your passion to walk behind you to help you push yourself forward. Sometimes your passion may have to take the lead, right? To help guide you. Maybe you're starting to stray, right? That passion needs to be in front of you, pulling you forward. Sometimes your passion, um, may need to be right by your side to help support your efforts. Yes, passion. Passion is the key to not only becoming, but to staying inimitable. Okay, and what is inimitable? Right? Inimitable being impossible to duplicate, second to none, incomparable to the many others, breaking the mold after you were made. That is inimitable. As a student, as an instructor, that's what you want to be, and that's what you want to remain. So people always would ask me, how do you do it, right? When I was instructing, y'all know I'm retired now, right? I'm almost, what? Oh my goodness. I retired on March 30th, 2023. But people used to always ask me, and I still get comments or emails with people saying, like, how do you do all of this, right? I mean, your YouTube channel, authoring books, all these games and activities that you create and produce. How do you do it? And now you're an esthetician training, right? And let me tell y'all one thing. Just because I'm a nurse, it's not easy. Esthetician training is not easy. Okay? It isn't. Like, I thought I was going to be all that, right? As a nurse and having the knowledge and understanding that I have of the human body, right? Nah. Okay? Esthetician training is challenging because there's so many things that you have to not only learn and gain the knowledge for, but also you have to gain the understanding of. And it's more than just the integumentary system, right? More than just that. Okay? Different modalities that you're going to be using in your practice, different products, right? The different skin types, right? What's going on up underneath that skin causing these skin challenges. But I'm enjoying every second of it. Yes. And I'm going to tell y'all why in a few seconds, okay? But people would always ask me, how do you do it? How do you maintain that marriage with your passion? How do you maintain it, right? How do you not become bored with it, right? Day in and day out instructors. It's the same thing, right? Lesson plans, motivating your students, testing your students, evaluating your students, the same thing over and over and over again, right? And if you're in a school district, right, you're working within a school district, you have meetings and um, sometimes you may have to go off campus, right? And it's just a whole lot, right? How do you not become bored doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again? And I ask you, the student, how do you not get bored? You learn something new every day, right? You learn something new every day. The only way when people would ask me that question that I could and would respond is just by telling them that it's in my blood, right? The passion that I had for instructing, that I still have for instructing and training and mentoring and inspiring people, it's just in my blood. It's systemic, right? Systemic. It's in my blood. It's in my soul, right? And if you're not passionate about what you do and with the outcomes that come about with what you do, it's time for you to pull the cord and get off at the next station. I'm going to say it again. It's time for you to pull the cord, that emergency cord, right? And get off, step off that train, get off at the next station. Because you're not empowering your students. And students, you're not empowering yourselves, right? And it's okay. It's okay because sometimes that passion that you have, and maybe it is in your blood, maybe it is in your soul, but it's just not in nursing or it's just not in teaching. And that's okay. Get off. Get off of that train at the very next stop and find your passion, right? Because once you find your passion, oh my gosh, you will be able to help so many people, whatever your passion is. You'll be able to help so many people. You have to have a full heart to be a teacher, a trainer, an instructor, and an inspirer, right? A mentor. You have to have a full, hearty heart. And with this, your inimitability. I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue twisted, right? With this, your inimitability will begin to blossom and blossom and blossom and blossom and blossom and blossom endlessly, limitlessly. Even if there's obstacles that get in your way, because of that passion, you'll be able to knock them suckers down, right? Throw them off to the side, jump over them, crawl up underneath them. That's what you'll be able to do if you have that passion with what you are doing. You will witness changes, not only in your students, but also in yourself. And the same for you, students, right? You're not going to notice, or you will notice changes in your instructor. And on the flip side of the coin, you're going to start noticing changes in yourself as a student. Why? Because that inimitable instructor that you have now is passionate about what he or she is doing. And that rolls off onto you. You will be able to feed into that. Okay? You'll be able to feed into that. You'll start seeing improvements. Students, you'll start seeing improvements with your test scores. You'll start seeing improvements with your performance on manual skills. You'll start seeing improvements in your communication. And most importantly, you'll start seeing improvements in your confidence. That's a whole nother podcast, right? The 3 C's: competence, confidence, and communication. A whole nother series podcast. But those are the improvements that you are going to be seeing. Instructors, you are going to be seeing improvements on how you communicate with your students, how you set up your lesson plans, when you set up your lesson plans, how you create your classroom guidelines, and not only create them, but implement them and reinforce them, right? Because a lot of times as instructors, we'll write some guidelines, right? And I don't like saying rules. I don't like calling them classroom rules. Again, a whole nother podcast, right? But I don't like calling them rules because rules were made to be broken, right? They were. They were made to be broken. Just look at the prison systems, right? Look at the prison systems. All those folks breaking rules, right? And getting locked up behind bars for them, right? Rules make people feel constricted, right? So I like to call them guidelines because guidelines were meant to be reviewed and updated or modified periodically, right? According to how your classroom is structured or what's going on in the world, right? Okay, but you'll start seeing improvements with your teaching strategies, with your creativity. Yes, you'll start seeing improvements with your creativity. Most importantly, you're going to start seeing improvements in your students' engagement. Yes. Can I get an amen? Amen. You will start seeing improvements in your students' engagement. Okay. Once you become inimitable. Okay. Um, so I ask you, are you passionate instructors about teaching, training, instructing, inspiring, mentoring, guiding, leading? Are you passionate about that? Students, are you passionate about learning, about becoming knowledgeable, and more importantly, are you passionate about understanding and being open minded and being able to see and understand your classmates' perception of things? Instructors, you as well. Are you passionate about being able to see your students' perspective? You have to listen to your student as an instructor, right? Yeah, we're the professionals, we're the licensed professionals, but we don't know it all, right? We don't know it all. We think we know how our students learn best. But if your students have not told you, how you know? How do you know? You have to listen to your students. Okay? Have to listen to your students. And students, I'm not going to put this all on the instructors because y'all have a voice. You have a voice. Let your voice be heard respectfully and tactfully and courteously. Okay? Let your voice be heard. If you don't understand, the information that your instructor is presenting to you in the manner that he or she is presenting it, let them know. Okay, instructors, you got to have a backup strategy, right? A backup teaching style, right? And I always tell people this, right? Instructors, it is easier for you as an instructor to change your teaching style rather than your students is having to change their learning style. Okay, remember that. It's easier for you as an instructor to change or modify. Okay, I'm not going to say change, right? Because then I'm going to hear it. I'm not changing nothing, right? But to modify, to curtail your teaching style to meet the needs of all of your students, all of them, than it is for each individual student to modify or change their learning style. Okay? Always remember that. Are you married to your passion? Are you married to it? Or is it just, like a blind date here and there, right? Let's go out to lunch or brunch or dinner or to a movie type of passion. If you're not in it for the long run, what do y'all need to do? What did I tell y'all earlier? If you're not in this marriage for the long run, go ahead and pull that cord and get off at the next station. So someone who is in it for the long run, someone who is in love with their passion to teach, to instruct, to train, to mentor, to guide, to lead, to inspire, to motivate, can step onto that train and take your place. All right? Y'all can see that I am so passionate about this. This is how passionate I was and still am about training, right? Because look at me, I'm still doing it, right? I'm still doing it here on YouTube. I still have this platform, still active. That's how passionate I am because I know that my training, my teachings, my instructing, my mentoring, my inspiring and motivating is helping so many people around the globe. Not just here in Texas where I'm at, not just in my home state in Mississippi, not just in the United States, but around the world. I just had a subscriber tell me who is in India. He said he or she, I don't know if it was male or female, if they are male or female, but this subscriber said that they were in India, and even though they're not under, these authorized administrators, Prometric, Pearson View, right, Credentia, Headmaster, the Red Cross, that my videos were the closest to what they are learning, how they're being trained. So my videos, my YouTube channel is global. It's global. It's not local. It's global. Why? How did I get it there? How did I get my YouTube channel to this level? Let me hear it. Y'all go ahead and say it. It starts with the P. Okay, starts with the P. What y'all got? What y'all got for me? There we go. Passion. Passion. You got to know the meaning of passion. You have to have a sound understanding of the meaning of passion. You got to love what you do, both as an instructor and as a student. So, have you had many divorces during your career? These are questions that I'm asking you right now, but you can also ask yourself. Okay? Are you passionate about teaching, learning, understanding, training, motivating, instructing, leading, guiding? Are you married to your passion? Have you had many divorces during your career as a nurse, as an instructor? Students, have you had many divorces, right? In the classes, the subjects that you take throughout your school years. And it's okay if you have, because you just have not found and met your passion. That's okay. Again, as I stated earlier, it may not be in nursing, it may not be with nursing, and that's okay. But you have got to go out and find it. Whatever it is, you've got to go out and find it. Do you want to become inimitable? Okay, remember what I said earlier, right? A lot of people will say, "Oh, I'm content. I'm content where, with where I'm at, right? I'm content with the 70." Come on, guys, a 70? Nah, you got to strive for higher, right? You're content, but you're not happy. I have never, ever heard a student in all the years, and this goes with both my high schoolers and my adult learners. I have never heard a student say that they were happy with the 70, or happy with the 75, or happy with the 80. They were just content that they passed the test. Nah, boo. You can't just be content. Why? Because no matter what you go through in life, no matter what you achieve in life, you're just going to settle with what you get. Don't you want more? Right? And I'm not talking about just money wise, not financially, right? We all want more, right? Financially. I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about what's in here. Don't you want more? So you can't just be content with the 70 or an 80. You can't just be content with the passing minimum. You can't. Well, I'm not going to say you can't. You can, right? You can be content, but you are not going to be happy. You're not going to be happy. Do you want to make a change in your instruction, in your learning, in your leading, your leadership? Do you want to see changes in your students' performances, right? Both nursing theory and nursing skills. Do you want to see a change for the better, right? And you, the student, don't you want to see a change in your performance, in your competency level, in your communication, in your confidence? What is confidence? What is confidence? Right? The truth in yourself, the belief in yourself that you can do something, you can achieve something. That's what confidence is. Self-belief, self-truth. If you responded yes to at least one of these questions, and I'm going to say the questions again. Are you passionate about teaching, learning, becoming knowledgeable, instructing, mentoring, training, leading, guiding, inspiring? Are you married to your passion? Have you had many divorces during your professional career as a nurse, as a teacher, as a trainer, as an instructor? Or have you had many divorces and separations as a student with your schooling, with your learning? Do you want to become and stay inimitable? Do you want to make a change in your instruction, your teaching styles, your training, your communication, your learning, your performance, both as an instructor and a student? If you answered yes to at least one of these questions, you want to learn more about becoming and staying inimitable. Leave comments. Okay, I want this podcast to brew. Okay, I want it to brew. I want debates to start. Debates, not arguments, right? We debate respectfully, courteously, and tactfully. Okay, because remember, we're all individuals. We all think differently. We all think on different levels. We have to respect that. Okay? Gotta respect that. Hey guys, stay tuned for part 2 of Nurse Jar's podcast, Becoming and Staying Inimitable. Okay, stay tuned. It's coming. I think the next series is The Mirror. Yes, The Mirror. Okay. So hopefully you all enjoyed this podcast. It is my first podcast. I know, it may be a little scrunchy, but it's a beginning. It's a beginning. We all have to begin from somewhere. And this is where I'm beginning, right here. All right. So join me for my next podcast. Okay. Next Monday. Yes. I think, yeah, that's when I'll be doing my podcast on Mondays. I just have to pick a certain time. I wished on YouTube we could do it live, you know. I gotta find a platform where we can actually do it live. But I'm gonna write YouTube and tell them, you know, they need to um they need to offer a live podcast platform. But yeah. Well, I guess they do, right? What am I talking about? They do. Right? The live streams. So yes. But I will definitely podcast will be every Monday to start. Okay, not written in stone. Y'all don't forget about my books on Amazon, right? Smash That CNA exam is selling like hotcakes. Okay, you want to get it. Instructors, in the midst of writing the instructor's guide for you all. Okay, it's just been put on a temporary hold, right? While I'm, starting out here with esthetician training, but it will be completed. I don't think it'll be completed by the new year, but we'll see. We'll see. All right. Be inimitable. You'll start seeing changes. All right. Talk to y'all later. Ciao.